Great. Thanks, Owen. Good evening. This is the March meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And this open meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Healy's executive order of March 29th, 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda, unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Justin Dufresne.
Here.
Diane Gouldner.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
Very good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vincent Bignali.
Here.
Owen Jones.
Here.
Thank you. Some ground rules. For presenters and/or applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until the name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by a roll call vote. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click raise hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing via the Northborough Remote Meeting tab on the town's websites. Diane, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead, please.
Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members or the public will be permitted. To participate in the public comment portion of this public hearing, go to the Northborough Remote Meetings YouTube channel or the town website for Zoom information included on the posted meeting agenda. The meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and/or the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. First, application for a request of a determination of applicability, 0 Howard Street, map 4, parcel 3, owned by the town of Northborough, to repair and/or replace the Bennett Trail bridges, add a 50-foot bridge, and improve the trail surface. The work will be within jurisdiction of bordering vegetated wetlands, bordering land subject to flooding, 25-foot no disturb zone, the 35-foot no structures zone, and the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. The second amendment or second application is a request for an amended order of conditions, 5 Barefoot Road, map 30, parcel 33, owned by Accessible Housing for Children, Elders, and Disabled, LLC, to change the proposed use from a daycare to a residential use and to relocate the development outside the Northborough setbacks and more than 72 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland. The work will be within the 100-foot wetland zone. And that's it for tonight.
Great, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Okay, meeting minutes from February. Any questions or comments on those? I had none.
No?
No issues?
No.
Vinny, these continue to be outstanding minutes, by the way.
Good,
So
good. And Brenda is definitely catching on.
she's got it. Then we need a motion to accept.
I so move that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig.
I abstain.
You were not here. Very good. That was a test, Todd. Very good.
No.
And I vote yes. Good stuff. Thank you. Vinny, speaking of Todd, we didn't open anything new last week, did we? Or continue anything that Todd had been exposed to?
Hillside Road, 6
No.
Hillside. Did you
Hillside
watch the
Road.
video, Todd,
Hillside Road was continued.
at the last meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yes,
I remember talking about the wall and
right. So that was not last, that was 2 meetings
was-
ago. Okay,
Yep, that's good. Juniper Hill, we closed that one.
no, that was it. You're right. So he's good for all the public hearings.
Okay. Okay, 311 Crawford Street. Who do we have for that? Let's see.
Mark Elbag, the engineer,
I got Mark. I'm gonna bring you in, Mark.
and Shiru, the owner. I think it's Mark will let us know if there's someone
Yeah.
else.
Hello, thank you for having us.
I've got a hand up here. Okay, hold on. Mark, Ms. or Mr. Bondi?
Yes, he's the owner applicant,
Okay,
and Maggie as well. She may be with him. Let me see if I can find the participants.
Okay, Mr. Bondi declined to be promoted to panelist. Okay. How about Nisha Nair?
I don't believe so. I think it would just be Mr. Bandy.
Okay.
Chiru.
Oh, he's got his hand up again. I'm going to try it again.
Yeah, he might have hit the wrong button.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Mr. Bondi, I see you. You're muted. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yes, yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. Vinny, where are we in this?
This is a long-standing one, and we've been going around about stormwater design and calculations. And then I contacted the town engineer, and he looked at the plan and said that the requirements for a driveway opening permit are such that they're more restrictive than what we were working toward in the stormwater design. Their requirement is that no drainage go into the town road. So that is what I think Mark is here to explain or address. So let's see where we stand.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Vinny. So the main reason we're here is this has been on your agenda for quite some time. So we felt it was time and maybe prudent to give you an update on where things stand. And yes, as Vinny indicated, there have been some kind of developments in the permitting of this project that we would just like to present to the commission.
Okay.
If you'd like, I could share a screen here, if that'd be helpful.
Sure.
So can folks see that? I'll zoom in a bit without, it might cut off the letterhead, but
I can see it.
this is the basis of the lot. That's a 50% zoom. So just to go back, we originally permitted, or this is the original plan set, just to kind of bring folks back to where we kind of came from.
Okay,
This is the original plan set. It's a single family house to be served by an on-site well, private driveway, and on-site private septic system. The disturbance was right around 40,000 square feet, but we came into this project came into this permitting process because it's part of a bigger 4-lot A&R. The current owners purchased just this lot off of the original landowner that had divided this up via the A&R process through the planning board. So the original design has a driveway coming in. We designed somewhat of a long driveway to compensate for the slopes and the elevation climb that was needed to get up to the building envelope on the lot. We have the house in about the middle of the lot with the septic system in the rear, well in front, and graded everything towards this stone swale and a little velocity pool here before ultimately discharging to the street. As you can see, this entire lot is above Crawford Street. Everything does drain to the street. Currently, there is an excavation here about where the driveway is. And there's also this existing driveway just to the south that served the house that used to sit on this property. So this proposed house is not too far away from the existing dwelling. And this driveway is worth mentioning because I think it does pick up a lot of the offsite water above the site and also picks up some water from the site itself. We've designed this to minimize the water going that direction, but some of the above offsite water still does proceed that way.
and Mark, that driveway is not on this piece of property, correct?
Correct. That driveway is off property, but the house was here, but the almost entirety of the driveway is off the property. So this is our current design, or at least one sheet of the design set. We've done a few things. We've added some swales to take water from above the lot, kind of around the development area. We're mimicking water flow in this direction to the south down to that existing driveway. We're treating all roof water. Well, not treating, but infiltrating roof water in some oversized infiltration chambers. Those also account for some of the detention on the site. We have all the driveway impervious water going to a stone swale, which are then actually treated through 2 different storm scepter units. We've cut the flow in half to mimic existing conditions. We've about halfway up the driveway, we're putting water into the storm scepter unit. Halfway down, that is then flowing to this level spreader and armored slope, and that is flowing off the front of the property to mimic current conditions. The remainder of the driveway we're picking up in this lower storm scepter, and we're picking up as much driveway area as possible due to elevation. And this is going into this temporary sedimentation, or it's going into this kind of sediment forebay, if you will, before then ultimately discharging off the site to the east. So the whole site is above Crawford Street, and everything discharges from the west to the east. We are treating all impervious areas with the exception of what we can't capture at the very intersection of Crawford Street. And we are mitigating peak flow rates through various, through the chambers in the level spreader and various BMPs. So we thought we were on a pretty good track here, and we've gotten a bit derailed probably in the past week and a half, in that the latest kind of comment is that no water at all should discharge to Crawford Street. And the only way we can see doing this is potentially installing upwards of 500 feet of town drainage in Crawford Street to discharge to the south. So So we're here today for two reasons. One, to really update you on where we are, because it appears that we're not very near appeasing all the review comments. But we also wanted to let you know what our obstacles and hurdles are here in moving this thing forward.
Mhm.
I will say Crawford Street is currently inadequate in that there is no drainage. There are no drainage swales or shoulder swales along the roadway.
Nope.
So everything that flows out to Crawford Street is gutter flow. For the amount of traffic it sees, you know, it's probably not wide enough with no room for cyclists or pedestrians. So Crawford Street in general could use a rebuild and is in, you know, pretty inadequate for both drainage and function. And we're here before you today to just kind of let you know where we are. I don't know that the owner applicant will be able to take on a drainage project of that magnitude. We're still trying to work through maybe alternative options, but we are a bit stuck. And we are in need of a couple of waivers, you know, to get this thing permitted. I think this is the last waiver request from back in November, which relate to the development on slope.
Mhm.
And one relates to excavation below estimated seasonal high groundwater, both of which will need waivers for, you know, I think most of the site, if not the whole site, is greater than 15%. And in order to get a driveway in, we've had to propose a pretty good excavation here to get this driveway to come in with any sort of reasonable slope and grade. So I don't know if the commissioners have questions or if Vinny, you have anything to add, but that's kind of where we are in a nutshell. And we're a bit stuck. It's I don't know that the owner applicant has a construction mortgage to build a single family house. I think as of this July, they'll have to start paying full freight on the interest on the full loan amount. So they're at a point now where they're looking at, you know, alternatives, for lack of a better term.
Okay. Vinny, what are your thoughts on the waivers, the two waivers that Mark presented?
Well, he definitely needs them waived because the site is very steep to start
Right.
with.
Right.
And the other big one is that he's cutting upwards of 12, 14 feet in some areas along the front there to get that driveway to be a reasonable slope. And even still, the driveway is, what is it, 12% or so, Mark?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, it's
a steep driveway. So it's not like he's trying to make a flat, easy driveway. He's climbing hard,
Mhm.
but it's a steep downgrade right out into Crawford Street. We were in the process of trying to get all the stormwater stuff addressed, and he's made good progress with that. And then kind of the big wrench is the no discharge, as opposed to what we were looking at, what our regulations under the land disturbance permit say that they have to match the existing flows. So if there's some flow coming off the site, they are allowed to match that amount in their proposed condition, whereas the DPW's requirements for for a road opening, driveway opening, is that there be no flow coming out into the street. The reason for that is the icing in the fall and the spring, which kind of makes sense. And I have heard, I was out there a couple of times, and they were not at this location, but I saw some at the old driveway location where there is a buildup of sand and things. So obviously there's water coming down from that slope. So what the land disturbance bylaw does is allow what's there occurring to be maintained or to be kept, but the driveway permit does not. So with that, it sounds like there's going to be a redesign of things to make compliance or to come into compliance with the DPW. And I was thinking we would continue this hearing, but bring the committee up to date, commission up to date as to what's going on, because it has been so long.
We had a property, I don't think you were here, Vinny, at the time, but I think the commission will remember a house up on Green Street that was very similar in terms of a very steep drive, a very winding driveway. Dan, remember the house we're talking about?
Yes, the one right on the corner there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that was an issue too, with water coming down the driveway going on into Green Street. I think that was dealt with through a series of swales and redirecting the water off
Off to the side, yeah.
off the side. So I don't know if that would be a template or not, but
Well, my comment on this is that if you go backwards back up the street the other way, there's a group of houses built on the hill up there. And that driveway that comes out is not more than 100 feet behind this one going to the north there. And it always has a puddle at the end. So and the fact that this road is exceedingly dangerous. You don't go down it without your foot on the brake and keeping over to your side of the road most of the time. And what makes it even more fun is early in the morning, people walk their dogs or ride their bicycles, and then you have to account for them. So my question would be, is there any way to cut back this driveway and maybe put in another pond and a little bridge or something across there? That asking for too much?
It's a little bit of a balancing act, because if we go shorter on the driveway and closer to the road, we have less distance to climb elevation. So so as you go closer to the road with the house, the driveway then becomes either too steep, or you would have to stop it well short of the house and maybe incorporate stairs into the design to get up to the house. Is kind of the balancing act, and we've taken it up to the top of the hill just to allow for a turnaround and an actual connection to the house. So it's in the realm of possibilities, I guess, is the answer, but it's certainly not a great alternative.
Well,
and, I will just add, it's pretty typical for what is already out there on Crawford Street.
yes.
I don't think this is a new condition or anything abnormal to what's already there. You can probably go down the road and count, close to a dozen instances of this very type, or a very similar condition, I should say.
I have one other thought. Over off of Colonial Drive, do you know where that is? Off of Davis Street?
Yes, yep.
Okay, on the left-hand side, there are 3 or 4 houses that are built up on the embankment, but there are short driveways there. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit in quite that way, but very steep driveways. Is there any way to copy that in some manner so that maybe they wouldn't need to have you go quite so high? If they could have a parking place off to the side. It's not the best of all possibilities, but just a thought.
We could certainly go shorter. Yeah, we could certainly go shorter and steeper. The big hurdle on this whole site is, if you look at the plan closely, without seeing it, it's hard to appreciate, but the actual stone wall that is the front of the property is quite a bit higher than Crawford Street. So even just to get into the lot, you're already climbing probably 8 or 10 feet before you even get onto the lot. So that's really the biggest hurdle of this whole lot. There's a big elevation change before you even enter the property, and there's no gutter swale or roadside swale anywhere in close vicinity to redirect water. So up until about a week ago, the design intent has always been to match existing and treat impervious to the maximum.
Greg, I
Okay.
have a question and a couple comments, I guess.
Go ahead, Justin.
First, Vinny, so the driveway permit from DPW allows no water to flow onto the town street. It's written that way. I just don't see how that could even be possible if you have any lot that sits any bit above the roadway. Like I think of there's a commercial development going in on Barefoot right down the street from me. I know their driveway, at least the bottom portion of it, drains back onto Barefoot. I know there's a couple house lots on 135 right now with really steep driveways that I know that there's no stormwater at the end of those driveways. So I know they flow onto the road. So I guess I'm just wondering, is this a new driveway permit or just something that's now being applied, or just kind of wondering? I guess that's my first question, and then I have some comments on this one. But I guess the driveway permit's out of our purview, no matter what that is. But
Right. Well, in response, I emailed the DPW director and asked that question, and his email was crystal clear. We don't know drainage discharge onto town roads. And I said, because I asked if they can match the existing and
right.
kind of what the land disturbance permit said, and he was clear.
It's interesting. So that would mean that no driveway can rise from the road.
Or, well, it can rise, but then have a little low point or like a little bump. So it kind of goes and then goes up built in, or a trench drain that then would discharge, which is one of the ideas that Mark has come up with on this. That goes across, because it's not so much the big storms that they're more concerned with on this. It's just the spring thaws and the fall thaws.
Okay.
Where it's the water coming out and freezing on the road. And I'm not sure.
I also put a request in to ask if, because the original comment was basically large diameter town drainage and 500 feet of it. So I've since asked about a week ago if we could do something maybe that did not meet town standards, that just was a gutter drain type curtain drain in the gutter on the shoulder, and maybe even bring it to the north. But I haven't gotten an answer back on that yet.
Yeah, something like that seems like it would work well, somewhere in between, maybe between that stone wall and Crawford Street, kind of something small in there. I know it's kind of downgraded into that stone wall, but I do feel like having that stone wall helps to protect some of the site too from flowing directly into the road, which is kind of nice. And just a couple comments. I know as a commission we've had a couple of these kind of long driveways that wrap up. I think Greg, you mentioned Green Street. I know that one. That was probably the one that we had, I think, concerns with during construction, right? There kept being issues and they kept leaving the site and everything. So I think construction is a really important part of this whole plan. And I do see, like a couple temporary sediment basins, which are nice on this one, and a couple of those features that I think would really help. A stockpile area that has, silt fence around it, things like that kind of didn't have as much of that on that last plan, and was certainly an issue during construction. So I appreciate some of that stuff being on this plan. And I would say that for a single family house lot, just as an engineer, this one has probably, more stormwater features than I've seen, on a lot of different single family houses. So I appreciate, where they have steep slopes. I see that we have erosion control blankets, which is great to really control things. And then, the whole roof's going into infiltration. So it kind of takes that out of the equation. And then the driveway with kind of the swale running all the way along it with a couple locations where it could discharge to different areas, I think will really help. Certainly stormwaters from a water quality perspective, isn't usually required on a single family house lot, but I think having them, certainly benefits, the town and the project. So, I mean, for me, it just seems like, we have an approved lot here. So we have an applicant that's doing, you know, a substantial amount of stormwater work. You know, and I think there's maybe a couple little issues, maybe kind of along this roadway, you know, if we could solve kind of along there, you know, it might not be your typical design, but I feel like they're making a lot of progress and taking into account a lot of probably what the comments have been over the past couple months, just seeing where the design was originally to where it is now. It looks like there's been some significant improvements here. So just kind of overall, just kind of wanted to make the statement that stormwater looks like it's really a focus of this single family development, and appreciate that because I know it's going to be a tricky one to kind of deal with out here. So kind of more, I guess, more of a overall comments than questions, but you know, just in my mind, it looks like they've really kind of taken into account a lot of the comments that have come in.
Good, good. You all set, Justin? Any more questions you had?
Nope.
But Mark, and just to raise something, it seems like there must be some sort of answer to the water that will come down to the end of the driveway, other than 500 feet of drainage. Maybe, I don't know, like if it's a catch basin with some sort of pipe, you know, French piping going down there or something. I'm not an engineer, but it seems like there's some sort of mitigation that should be able to happen there. And I guess that's what you're looking at now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we currently stand, and that's been, you know, the highlight of this whole design is that if we do put in any sort of structure, there's really nowhere nearby to discharge it. So we could look at dry wells, but during times of the year, the dry well might be well into the groundwater table. So that's how we ended up with drainage in the street right away, which then kind of pushed us onto this 500 feet of town drainage, which kind of breaks the back of the project. So we're a bit stuck, but we could certainly look at a trench drain and maybe a stone infiltration trench at the bottom, just with the caveat that we might have difficulty finding a discharge point for it at daylight.
Yeah, and this one, come to a couple of the high points of the problems are that the groundwater is about 3 to 4 feet down. So when you're cutting in the driveway to go down 8 and 10 feet just to get onto the site, you're already in the groundwater. So that discharge location, oftentimes it's used, is going into the ground. You don't have it because the water is going to be coming out, at least for the first few years. The other alternative that was discussed and was encouraged by the planning director and the town engineer was to do a common driveway here to kind of retain the existing driveway, do some improvements to that, and then have a couple of these lots tie off of that common driveway. So there's one location and it gives you a little more space to work with, so that like where the road is proposed to be, or driveway is proposed to come in on this site, that area could be used as a more of a stormwater basin area when the existing driveway that's there is improved to meet whatever standards are needed to be a common driveway, so that you get a little bit more space to work in these treatment devices or treatment practices. And because right now they've got probably a 52,000, I think it was, square foot lot, and they're using 50,000 of it for everything that they're proposing in there. So they need more space to do what they need to do, and it might be more economical to do it as a common driveway to serve the lot to the south, the lot to the, well, not directly to the north, but kind of the northwest, and this lot all on that one common driveway, or the driveway that's coming in now. But that's something that I thought was going to be evaluated by the prior owner.
We did chase that option.
Yep.
We've had conversations with the owner to the south, and it just really isn't a viable alternative at this time. unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, I will say, if you look at the plan, when the proposed driveway is very, very similar to the existing. And we do have some of the best soils on the site are on the front side of the site out by Crawford Street. And the driveway was actually started already, I believe. There is a pretty large excavation there, a pretty large cut that's already in place. And, you know, I don't know that that's creating much in the way of problems as far as water goes. And that's already there. These folks were actually already issued a driveway permit about a year and a half ago that has since expired. So they were very surprised to learn of the most recent issue within the past couple of weeks in obtaining a renewal on that driveway permit.
Is that for the existing driveway, Mark?
No, they actually sent it to me. It was before I got involved. I have it here. They were issued a driveway permit in I have it here. Hang on one second. Let me check the date just so I'm telling the truth here. They were issued a driveway permit in August of 22.
Okay.
The end of August.
Yeah, and that came
they were-
that came
so
from
they-
DPW, so it's possible. I remember there was some discussion because there's that easement right there on the south corner where the driveway is. The old driveway I thought was kind of coming off of that, which is, I don't know, you can verify it, but I thought that's where that driveway was proposed to come in. Not on the lot, because then they found out that there's another town requirement that requires the driveways to be on the town, on the property, not
Right,
going
that's-
on to a different one.
If you can still see my screen, that excavation is actually still there.
Right.
You can see the contours just off the south side of the lot.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I
that's
can see that. That was
you know,
actually
that-
a question I was going to ask, Mark. It looks like that area is cleared and relatively flatter. Like you could almost have a flatter area than coming in and then curving up if that easement was to benefit this lot. I was kind of wondering why that wouldn't be used.
Yeah, I think that was the original. Before I got involved, that was the original driveway location. But then, you know, they ran into the trouble of having their driveway not in their frontage. So it's only flat now because it was recently excavated. But we're basically proposing to do the exact same thing, just
Okay.
40 feet to the north. You know, it's no different. A few feet to the north in their frontage, it's the same cut that has already been made.
I just want to add like one more point. The initial driveway permit which we received, it's on the same lot itself. It's on our lot itself.
I'm corrected then. Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Chiru. I didn't. It was before I got involved.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I misspoke.
That driveway permit's on 311 Crawford Street,
Yes. Yep.
but
Here it is. Here you can see the screen.
right, but the design would go into other property.
No, the owner corrected me and said that it was on the lot, because this started right when I was starting here, so a lot of things were in the air when I jumped in too. So the owner said that this was a permit issued after they found out that they couldn't use the property next door for their driveway, and they moved it onto their property. So I'm not sure. It's something to look at. It may be something to provide the DPW director and say, well, can we review this? Because I had a permit a couple of years ago for it. It may be something for him to consider.
Mhm.
Yeah, and this was all just to really complete the whole story. They purchased this lot. They viewed it as 100% permitted because it had a well, a septic design, and a driveway permit. And then because it was part of this larger 4-lot development, the land disturbance permit got triggered, but that kind of bit them because they mainly did not see that coming, and it it caught up to them when they already had their mortgage in place and were ready to start construction. So they really started this land disturbance permit process when they were really ready to put a shovel in the ground.
Mhm.
And they were under the 40,000 before adding in many of the stormwater treatment features that added to the amount of disturbance and clearing that would be needed.
Okay. So Vinny, it sounds like, well, any more questions from the commission? Comments? Vinny, it sounds like that it's really right now between the applicant and DPW, if they can get them to accept something different. Otherwise, they're looking to redesign
But
that front piece.
Part
and
of it,
because
yes.
of the state of the owner's finances and mortgage and the fact that the project might move forward, I would think that I don't want to speak for them, but I think they may want to move forward with this committee regardless of whether they can obtain a driveway permit opening or not.
All right, so if we consider, if you folks consider the current status of the driveway design, and just because you permit it under the land disturbance, it doesn't mean that it's going to get a driveway opening permit, but they then have that, they have that permit issued.
Right.
We could also just continue this hearing and see how it plays out with the DPW. And then whichever way that plays out, we move forward at the next meeting. Because hopefully, I mean, the DPW should reply and give them more guidance on what needs to be done. But my hesitancy for closing the hearing is that then you're going to get a new owner who has no idea what they're getting into, and everything is said to be permitted without the driveway permit, and it may turn into a big mess if the driveway permit does not allow them to use the approved design. They'd have to come back to the commission for an amended application.
And I'm certainly not advocating for that alternative. That would be, worst case in the owner's mind.
Right. You're right. So would it make sense? I mean, I think I've heard from the commission that you're happy with improvements that have been made. It's not perfect. It's still going to allow some flow out onto Crawford Street. The construction, we're going to need to do a little bit more work, or a lot more work than a typical construction site for sediment control, erosion control. But if the commission is getting a better feeling about this design, it would be good to know, so that they know they're somewhat close. And the only question or comment I had was that somewhere I think we lost the construction exit on the design. So I just want to make sure that gets put back in if it's not there already. It's been so long, I'm not exactly sure.
No, that's easy enough to toss back on there. Yep, that's just some hatching.
Yep.
If it is missing, I'd have to go back and look.
Where is it? Where is the exit?
What's that?
Where is the exit?
The construction entrance is going to be on this the driveway itself. This design ended up turning into like a 4-sheet set, so it's just a matter of whether the hatching was removed or not. I don't believe it is. Here's another sheet that we've since added, which is just to, I'm glad you brought it up, because it's good that the commission sees this.
Yeah. Yep.
It's now a 4-sheet set. We've added a independent sheet totally to cover construction period erosion controls. So there's our construction period erosion controls.
Yep.
We have a temporary basin to the north of the house, a temporary basin to the south of the house, and we're using that lower area as a temporary basin as well towards the road.
Okay.
Right. So there's definitely been a lot of effort in this.
Sure.
For this site, but this is one of those lots that you wonder how it can get built once there's a house on there. You wonder how they got it on there, and this is going to be one of those.
Okay. Let me see if we have any public comment here. I don't see any hands up. No, I don't see any hands up. So Vinny, we're looking to continue this to next month and hopefully get some resolution from the DPW on what may or may not work.
Yes, that's what I would recommend, if, as long as the applicant is okay with that.
Yeah, and I mean, there are these two waivers from November, as long as we get some sort of nod that these are at least going to be considered by the commission, because these are waivers that we certainly can't overcome, no matter what we do engineering wise. I've just brought those back to your screen.
Yep. And what's your thought on those, Vinny?
As Mark said, it's one of those things you can't overcome. You're in the groundwater, so that's one of the recommendations, which is a good recommendation in the land disturbance permit or the regulations. You don't want to be in there, but on this site, there's no other way to do it. And the whole site is more steep than where they say they don't want you to build. So if they're going to build on this site, they're going to be on a steep site and in the groundwater. And if that's something that the commission is willing to entertain, then we move forward. If the commission knows that we don't want that, then I think we need to let them know. But he is doing a lot of engineering and
Yes.
practice implementation that should address the concerns as best as possible, but it's still a lot of water coming off a steep slope.
Well, let's talk about that briefly here then from the commission. What's the commission's, what's the feeling now about these two waivers as Vinny explained?
Guess my hesitation is, I mean, these regulations are to avoid these types of things. So to waive it, I don't know. I guess I'm sort of dismissing what we're trying to prevent in the first place.
Okay. Any other comments?
How many changes has this been for the times that we've seen it? For the driveway and all that?
They've revised plans, I think, original plan, and then one, maybe two revisions.
A 3 or 4 range, depending on how you count it. Some of them blended together.
Right.
But we've had several comment letters. We've met with the DPW director, Vinny and Lori on site. I've since met with Vinny in his office, and we went through the plans with a red pen and just kind of brainstormed everything we could possibly do to make this a buildable lot.
I guess that's my hesitation. Maybe this just isn't a buildable lot. You know, it seems like we're really trying to force it to be something it's not.
Any more comments by the commission?
So I guess I'm I'm on the fence. Going all the way back, I agree with Dan. It's not a buildable lot. The thing is that these unfortunate people bought this thing before figuring out that it wasn't a buildable lot. So I am certainly sensitive to that. The other thing that I'm looking at is, I perhaps shouldn't feel this way, but they aren't really violating wetlands things, right? It's stormwater things, which I don't know, something about that just seems a little less important or can be solved through engineering, which is leaning me towards allowing it.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
I think I'm kind of in a similar camp to Todd. I feel like it's, you know, it's a stormwater, really a stormwater bylaw that brings them into our commission right now. We're not really protecting wetlands like we are on most sites. And I think, you know, for us, it's really looking at that stormwater, making sure that, you know, existing peak rates are you know, the proposed peak rates that are coming off the site are matched, you know, matching the existing peak rates that are coming off the site, which it appears that they are. And the applicants worked really hard on stormwater related things and construction phase kind of protection of the site, which is, I think, really what our focus needs to be. And I think, you know, some of the other pieces on it, I think it's a tough site. It's a tricky site to deal with, but really our focus is stormwater, and if they're meeting kind of the intent of our stormwater regulations, you know, I'm okay with it. You know, I know that these waivers, you know, I think it's, you know, one of them says, you know, shall be designed to avoid disturbance. Well, on this one, we can't avoid the disturbance of a site that's 15% or greater because the whole site is, and the other one is, you know, minimize dewatering of the soil by grading. And I think, you know, probably, I'm sure the applicant's trying to minimize it, but you've got to kind of cut in a driveway to get up here. So it, you know, you're kind of stuck on both of those waivers, no matter what you do. But, you know, I think from what I see, it seems like the stormwater, you know, is being mitigated, you know, to the extent that they can. So for me, I'm kind of leaning in Todd's camp right now.
Yeah. You know, I think I'm kind of in the same position where it's, I mean, the efforts undertaken here to design, to engineer some functionality in here is pretty good. And what's planned to come off the site is no worse than what's coming off now. So I'm also hearing that. You know, we have the driveway permits is the big hurdle. On the other side, what I would like to avoid is that somewhere after construction or mid-construction, we get another Green Street on our hands, that we have water pouring off the site we didn't anticipate, or the calcs were off, or something didn't work. That's the balancing piece there, that side. So Vinny, I'm kind of in a quandary here, whether we vote this tonight or we should probably just wait and see what the DPW output is. Mark, I mean, you've got a flavor where the commission is here. I mean, no, I don't think it's so you know what may or may not happen on a vote here, but you got a flavor where we're coming from.
Yeah, we very much appreciate that.
I'd recommend you get the DPW piece resolved, because if that's not resolved, you're gonna have to go back and do another redesign, at least on the bottom piece of it.
Yeah, no, to understand, and this is a positive outcome, and we're very thankful for the time you allowed us to spend on this.
Yeah, so I think we're looking for, I think a continuance is probably what would be best, because if they go for a vote, we could vote, but there's going to be drainage changes, I think, almost no matter what, and we're not sure what they are, but I think the DPW is going to require something. So that will mean they would need to amend their permit, which means they'd have to notify all the abutters and go through the whole application process for the amendment. It's basically almost the same thing. So it probably makes more sense to just continue. And I think it's good all the commissioners have kind of let their voices be heard as to where they stand. And we just continue it and see where the DPW directs.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Then we need a motion to continue 311 Crawford Street.
I move that we continue 311 Crawford Street. With
I'll
the good
second.
luck.
Was that Todd seconding?
Yes.
Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you in
We
April.
we very much appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your efforts. Hey, Vinny, on the same subject, before we totally leave 311 Crawford Street, there's 3 or 4 more lots up for sale here. One's been sold already. Are we going to have this situation times 4?
So far, I think we're going to have this situation again, because I just heard from Cornerstone Engineering saying they want to, or they were going to be doing some design work for 317 Crawford. which is the one just to the north.
Right.
I let them know what 311 has been going through and the status and the requirements from the DPW. So I think they'll be prepared and ready to go through the same type
Are
of
the unsold
process.
lots still owned by the same people?
No, they're all, the only one that is owned by the original owner is the one to the south. The other 3 lots have been sold. But again, they are just A&R lots. It doesn't mean they're buildable.
No, but if somebody on one of the other lots is coming before us, there's an opportunity for some arm twisting to get it all to work together.
Yes. Yeah, that's all right. I'll get my twisting hands in place.
There's also the potential, I guess, on those other lots that if they limit their disturbance to under our requirements, it wouldn't even come in front of us too, right?
Nope. This one
Or
is,
is it-
this regulation is similar to the construction general permit when there's a
We've
common
looked
plan
at it
of development,
together. Good,
and that's the
Okay.
A&R. So
good.
Okay, let's see what we have here. All right, let's go to 15 Prospect Street. Let's see, you want to move. Thank you, Owen. Prospect Street, 15 Prospect Street. Who do we have here for that? I see no hands up. Vinny, you're muted. Oh, I see. I've got a Jonathan Colette Haley Ward.
okay, yes. Yeah, he's the engineer, and maybe Glenn Kravosky or James Simpson.
Okay, Jonathan, bring you in. I don't see anybody else with those names. Here's Jonathan. We can see you, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
Good.
All right. Anybody else you're expecting?
If nobody else is on, then I guess not.
I don't see anybody else with hands up, so. Okay, Vinny, set us up. What's going on here? 15, I know there's a redesign going on to get away from the jurisdiction. Or away
Yes,
from
we have
the
a-
35.
Yep, the Northborough regulation of 35-foot no structures. They originally had a plan that had a structure in there. So they've redesigned things and moved it out. And then they were working with the DPW to comply with the groundwater overlay district area 2 requirements. And they were in the midst of doing that. So they made some changes and did some infiltration of the roof runoff to comply with that. But I think that's kind of the background. They've been with us for 3 months now, and I think they're close to the end.
Okay. Are you close to the end, Jonathan?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Do you have a plan, or do you want me to pull it up?
I can share my screen, or if
Yeah.
you want to, whatever's
Oh,
easier.
Okay, go to it.
Did everybody see that?
Not yet. Yes.
So I'm not sure the last revision of the plan that the commission had saw, but the house in this process we had flipped the house around to stay out of the 35-foot no build buffer. And in this latest revisions, we've added a recharge chamber located here in the place of the existing driveway, which is proposed to be removed. This recharge chamber is sized to infiltrate 1 inch of runoff across the entire roof area. We have added some roof drains and gutter lines to the plan to make sure that the entire roof does get to that infiltration chamber system.
Excuse me, John. Can
Yep.
you zoom in once or twice?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
May-
good. Yep.
One more, maybe. See if that'll do it. And you can. Yeah, that's good.
How was that?
Yep, that helps. So the
Just
shaded area is the old building and the driveway to the right, and the new outline of the building is there with the driveway to the left, right?
correct. Yep. So the shading is everything that's going to be removed, the house, the driveway. We have a shed down here. And then
Is the shed going or staying?
it's going to be removed.
Okay.
Let's go back up. And so then this is the outline of the proposed house. And then proposed brick paver driveway on the left side of the house off of Prospect Street. And so I'll scroll down the existing wetlands on the southern part of the property. This is the shed that's being removed. We have a fence line here. We're proposing to connect the fence line to continue it through the removed shed. We're proposing 5 wetland signs to be placed along the fence and then up in this area near flag 7A.
There's a fence there now, right? The fence is gonna stay?
Yep. So yeah, this existing fence is going to stay. We're just going to connect. So the fence kind of goes into the shed and then exits the shed. And so when the shed is going to be removed, we'll just connect the 2 ends of the fence through through where the shed was. And
Okay.
so I'm
Wanna
happy to answer any
Show the
questions.
35-foot no structures and 25-foot no disturb.
This is the 35-foot no build here. And then the 25-foot is this dash line below it.
Interesting. Well, I mean, from my view, it's all good news because you're outside 35. However, I'm a little nervous about the corner of the house there. I mean, that's right on the 35, right on it.
Correct.
Any chance you could pull that about a foot further up or something, or?
We could potentially move the house closer to Prospect Street, which would pull it away. We also are showing the foundation, this dashed line on the outside of the proposed house is the foundation line. The foundation is out of the 35-foot zone, but we can potentially move it another foot to get us more room.
I just get nervous when something's right on the 35 because things happen, right? And
Absolutely.
that's just my comment there. The other comment I have is from the back of the lot when we looked at it. Vinny and I walked it last week. We're looking to get some cleanup done back there.
Yep.
Roughly, Vinny, roughly inside the wetland flag area, right? As it's there, like with 6A, 5A, and 3A inside.
Yes, right. There was, it looks like dumped potting plants, some old cans, a fence, a whole bunch of material. And there's a new note that was added to this since that was one of the commission's comments. So they revised and added a note that the areas would be cleaned up of other materials and seeded. So they plan on doing the cleanup work that is needed. And Glenn Kravosky, their wetland scientist, is going to be monitoring the restoration work, the reforestation. So he's committed to making sure that anything that's not supposed to be there will not be there.
Okay, good. Yeah, my last comment is that I think 5 signs is a little bit of overkill. Would probably be a record for the amount of signs we've had from that. I'm thinking maybe 2, 3 tops.
Yeah,
But-
this one I agree. You see the wetland goes up on the west side, on the left side of the picture. The wetland follows that fence line. So he's got a sign up there to kind of make the mark of that, the beginnings of that 35-foot. So, and then coming back to the corner makes sense. And then one more across the middle the wetlands don't extend more than halfway across the lot, left to right. So I think we can cut down the number of signs, but that's just, the town has the signs there for $25, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
Any questions, comments from the commission?
Looks reasonable.
Good. It certainly is an improvement from the first time through.
And the commission is going to recognize that there's alteration within the 25-foot setback, and that's going to be limited by what that existing fence line is. And the owners or the property owners will be limited by the current fence line.
Vinny, my comment about on that corner being on the 35, is that a frivolous comment, or are you good with it as it is, or are you?
No, they were a foot or under a foot closer on their first design. That was one of the comments that I made. So they've slid it over to incorporate the idea of the footings underneath the foundation wall, because I told them if we measured 35 to the foundation wall, they're going to have to dig up the footings and keep them out of the 35 foot. So the incentive is there. They know we're going to be measuring. And so they said they're going to keep it out of the 35 foot.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions from the commission? Let me take
Just
a
a
look.
statement that I'd just be careful about that tiny little bit of driveway that looks like it's going back onto the road. Whether or not your DPW driveway permit, just where that 303.2 and then there's a 303 contour. So it looks like a little bit of the driveway might drain into the road. I think you'd be okay though.
All right.
I may not let that one go, Vinny.
Yeah. Okay.
Justin will always have a comment on no matter what the design is about.
That's good. Keep
Drainage
me on my
of the road.
toes.
There we go. All right, let me see if we have any public comment here on this. I don't see any hands up. No, nothing.
All right. So the only condition I would have on this, and they've committed to agreed to it in their review, is that they don't have a soil test in the location of the infiltration basin.
Yep.
But based on the soil tests that were done for the septic system, which is right next to it, and the soil maps, it all looks like the great sandy soil. So they're going to do the test before they start the work and make sure that it is the soil that we think it is.
Vinny, was there any replication here in this one?
No, because they're not altering any wetland.
Okay, just going to
They're
clean
in
up
the
a little bit
buffer.
around it, just some cleanup.
Well, it's not replication. They're restoring the buffer zone area,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no riverfront, but they're restoring the buffer zone area where the
What?
bed is taken out and where all the
Yep.
crud behind it is going to come out.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comments or concerns, we need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded by Diane. Roll call, Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes,
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Now we need a motion to issue a order for 15 Prospect Street.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Roll call, Dan,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Very good. You're all set, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Well, any timing on, well, thanks for working with Vinny on this one for a while. I know it's a good result here. What's the timetable for construction to start?
That I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't. In lieu of not saying any false information, I'm not sure.
Okay, just make sure that Vinny gets contacted prior to the start, as soon as the devices are in, erosion control devices.
Absolutely.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. All right, 6 Hillside Road. Let's see, we've got Zoe. We'll bring you in, Zoe, as a panelist.
Hello.
Hello, Zoe. How
Hi.
are you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
We are okay. We are okay. Welcome.
I think Mitch Maslanka might also be on the call from Goddard Consulting, if you wouldn't mind letting him in.
I do not mind. Mitch, I'm bringing you in as a panelist.
All right. So,
Hey, Mitch. You're in
Hey
Frisco.
there.
Very nice.
Yep.
Hey.
all right. So just to provide an update from the last hearing, just so for the record, Zoe Sanchez representing the applicant Ina Shihu for the notice of intent that was filed on December 12, 2023 for the proposed work within a 100-foot buffer zone to the bank of pond. The proposed work consists of redoing the existing deck with an existing footprint, redoing parts of the house with an existing footprint, reconfiguring the driveway for a new septic system that's farther away from the wetland resource area. At the last hearing, there was additional information requested regarding the existing old tire retaining wall that's on site, which was provided at the last supplemental submittal deadline for today's hearing. And so that letter was sent in and it covered the 3 items that were requested. One being confirm the extent of the tire retaining wall, in which we can confirm that the tire retaining wall is accurately shown on the plot plan. And the second thing was wait to hear from DEP. We received no comments directly from DEP regarding the proposed work as it pertains to the Wetlands Protection Act. And 3, the confirmation of the property lines that they're accurately shown on the plot plan that's signed and stamped by the professional land surveyor. So the professional land surveyor did provide us a letter stating that the property lines are accurately shown based on existing monumentation, and also stating that the tire retaining wall is mostly off-site with the except a small portions, I think 6-foot portion that sticks out encroaching onto 6 Hillside Road. You know, that portion of land in the pond, I know there was questions about who really owns that. And that would go along the whole edge of the pond in the neighborhood now. And we looked on the assessor's map, and it's not a clickable parcel to see who exactly owns it. And the professional land surveyor also is not able to confirm, but we do know that it's off-site off 6 Hillside Road. And so at this time, Goddard Consulting believes that all the information that was requested has been sufficiently addressed, and the work that is proposed in the notice of intent is an overall improvement to the site, and the applicant requests a order of conditions for the proposed work that was submitted with the notice of intent.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this is certainly an interesting one, at the very least. I did notice also that the house is for sale. Just was listed like 4 or 5 days ago. I don't know if that makes any change to what we do here. I do not know that, but the house is for sale on that side. All right. Vinny.
Yes, Zoe has summarized things
Yep.
well. That's where we stand. The outstanding questions were to try to find out who owns the property, and we kind of knew last month that the town had it as an unknown owner. I was hoping we would get something from some kind of a title person or someone that looks up ownership. We got something from a surveyor saying that he believes that the plan shows the appropriate property lines. So he's the one that's licensed. So his understanding is the way I think it is until we get a title search done or some kind of a title report made that defines who the owner of the abutting property is. Because the tires are located most of them are located on that property. There are some on this property. And I've talked to the DEP, the wetlands folks, our circuit rider, Kim Roth, who said that the idea of the tires and solid waste is not something that is generally dealt with by the Conservation Commission under their jurisdiction. But since it is within the setbacks of the local bylaw and also in the buffer zone, any work that is done there would be jurisdictional. But since they're not proposing to do anything with these tires, it's not something that the commission can act on at this time. But I've contacted the local Board of Health and they did some research. Looks like the tires are a solid waste and also a hazardous waste. So there'll be some action coming from that, probably to have them removed somehow. So that was one of the things that I was going to raise at the meeting tonight, was to ask about allowing for an easement on the property to whoever we find out, or whoever is determined to be the owner of the area at the pond, to access and remove those tires, as well as what we might do with the tires that are on this site. So I think there's a little more outstanding, or there are a few more outstanding issues, but I think the idea of just the work with the replacement of the deck, the replacement of the house and the septic system, I think we have all the information we need about those. So I think, is there the commission's thoughts on how to address the hazardous material there?
Well, the thing about this one for a week or 3 weeks, I mean, it's no, what may well happen here, it may be town property.
It's possible that it's the town's, yes.
So if that's the case, then we'll remove the tires. The town will remove the tires. And they would have to also go into the owner's property to remove the piece in the owner's property, correct? Or not, or was that a gray area?
Well, I'm not sure. The tires in the owner's property are the owner's responsibility that they would probably have to take care of. But if we're going about doing this, we get an easement. That's where the idea of an easement would be helpful. And in lieu of granting the easement, the town might be willing to take the tires out that are on their property. But again, it falls again into the DPW as being, I think, the responder for the town for doing this work, or when it would get done, how it would get done, all that.
Yep. All right. Any questions from the commission? Comments, concerns? Zoe, can you put your plan up just so we can see it one more time, please?
Sure, yeah. Is it up now?
It is. Yep.
All right.
Can you make it be a little bit larger, maybe one click? Oh, that's pretty good. All right. Can you drop it down a little bit maybe so I can see the edge of the water? Other way. There we go. All right. All right. So if I recall, you're staying within the existing footprint, right?
Sorry, what was that?
You're staying within the existing footprint. You're going to raise the house, are you?
Oh, no, they're not. Yeah, staying within the existing footprint. I think they're just redoing parts of the exterior and the interior.
Okay.
But all work, yeah, is within existing footprint.
Yeah. So inside the 25 foot, but we'll work within the 25, which, as you know, is normally a no build, no touch area. That is already existing. What's there? You're just upgrading what's there.
Exactly. Yes.
Commissioners, Comments, questions?
Where are the tires again?
Where are they?
Yes.
It's, I'll zoom in really. So see this piece that sticks out? So it follows down and around here, basically along the bank,
All right.
ends right
And so
here.
the surveyor is not really saying who owns that piece. They're saying that most of those tires are not on our property or your property.
That's correct, yeah.
And that's perfectly normal for a surveyor to say. So, okay. We don't know who owns the tires, is that correct? So we don't know we don't really know who owns the shore there.
Correct.
Apparently not.
The assessors don't have information on who owns it.
Seems like a situation of don't ask, don't tell. I don't know why we would, if the surveyor is determined that those are not on our property, then they don't have to deal with them, fine. And then I don't know why we need to go making arrangements to have us deal with them if there's no indication that we actually own that piece of property and they've been in there for an eternity.
Well, I think part of the initial reason, Todd, was when we first saw the property, we found this waste hazardous material sitting there against a water body. And what do we do about that?
My recollection of that hearing was that one of the things that we decided was it was going to do a lot more damage to take those out than it was to leave them there.
That's a possibility.
Yes, that was said at the meeting. We weren't sure whether it was even an impact or what the issues were. So that's when I contacted DEP, and then the response was that it was a solid waste. And then the local Board of Health replied today that it was also a hazardous waste or a hazardous material.
Well, I mean, all right. So I guess my point is I don't know why we can't just approve this thing. I don't know why we have to deal with that other thing at all. We don't have the information.
Right. You can. That's a question. You can review and close and approve this if you wish. If that's the way you want to go, I think what we would need to do is have maybe have some way of demarking that property line permanently so we know who owns what. And I can put that in as a condition. But it would be good to know who owns it. That's kind of
who owns what?
Who owns the property at the pond.
But we're not going to require the applicant to do that.
Good.
I'm saying it would be nice to know who owns it, right? That's all.
I agree it would be nice to know, but we're not going to require the applicant to figure out who owns the next door property.
And then
Well,
is there a
go
way?
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm thinking in the future, we would probably need an easement or someone would need an easement. I'm assuming, let's make the assumption that the town owns the site. For them to get in there and do it, they would need an easement onto this lot to get to the tires and to do the removal work. Would that be something you would want to put in as a condition of the approval of the order of conditions?
Is that the only way can you get to them from the water side?
Oh yeah, you can go in from the water, but you'd be in a boat to access it. You can't go along the properties from the boat access area that's off to the west of this, south of this, actually, southwest.
So if I may,
Mhm.
I think the applicant, we did discuss this potential, and he would be happy to allow temporary access to the property. Maybe not an easement, since that would need to be on a deed and such. But definitely
Okay.
temporary access would be totally fine.
That's good. I think
Seems reasonable.
Well, that's good, but it's only that's what the current owner says. The
Well,
property's-
I suppose, and this is not the ideal way to do it, but I suppose if you put it as a condition of the order of conditions that, and if required in the future that the town of Northborough requires access to the waterfront to remove the tire retaining wall, they shall grant that access. It's like a condition, the temporary access is a condition to the order of conditions.
Yep. Yep. And it doesn't affect the deed like Zoe said. So.
Well, it'll be on it'll be on the title because it's in the order of conditions.
That sounds
Well,
reasonable.
Also, the idea of delineating the property line, you thinking like some sort of fence, Vinny, right along the line there?
That's what I was thinking of. Usually what we have is like on the last one we did, we had a fence, and it was already there. We just had them connect the section that was going to be missing once they removed that shed. And then we put signs on the fence. So I was thinking we basically do the same thing here along the property line.
Well, split rail
What-
fence of some sort.
Why are we doing that?
So that we don't get impacts into the 25-foot no disturb zone beyond what's already allowed.
Okay, so it's a, yeah, I mean, because we ordinarily don't require people to put up boundary markers just for legal boundaries, because that's, that's what the registry's for. But if
Right.
it's delineate the 25-foot, that's fine.
Right. Well, it doesn't quite delineate the 25 because it's only 10 or 12 feet off the actual wetland. So I think the commission would be giving a little bit out of the 25, and then that way we're acknowledging, or you're acknowledging, that they're allowed to go into the 25-foot no disturb by whatever the 12, 10, 15 feet that's on the plan. Does that sound acceptable to you, Zoe, or have you talked to the owners about that?
So this is Mitch Maslanka. So with Goddard Consulting, wetland scientist. So with the property delineation, I don't know if that would be entirely reasonable to add as a special condition, especially in like perpetuity, to have someone have a fence along their property boundary. And then also something to consider, this property was built in the 20s. So, this has been a long-standing property, and then to have some perpetual fence line along the property boundary may, I don't know if that's entirely fair for the improvement project that's proposed. And then I think temporary access is fine. I think what Todd said was good. You could put it in the order, have it, it's technically in the title on the registry of deeds. I think that, that would be awesome. And then, they could do the tire retaining wall removal, take it off site, and then call it a day. And then with the fence, I don't know if the fence, would be serving any benefit to, wetlands protection, with the pond being there and then adding the structure of a post and rail fence 10 feet away, who knows what kind of impacts that's going to have. So I think straying away from a proposed fence at the property boundary would be more ideal.
Well, I probably would agree if I were the owner, but the situation that I'm looking at as the agent is that if there's not a fence there or some kind of a demarcation that they're not supposed to go in and mow, alter, do any work along the waterfront, which is, it's a waterfront property. It's going to be tough for that to be controlled. So that's why I was thinking in the future, it's going to be a headache to monitor. So having a fence makes a clear line. It doesn't have to be a stockade fence, but a clear line delineation would be very helpful.
So what I've gotten approved in the past is survey bounds. Like I know iron pipes are on the corners, but we could add survey bounds, those small metal pipes driven into the ground at those additional lot corners, where it says 50 plus there. And, at least that can help them realize, if they're mowing a lawn right up to there, they're hitting that thing, they shouldn't go beyond that. And what I've experienced in the past with post and rail fences, or just fences in general, is people love to take their yard waste and just huck it over the fence. And that could result in significantly more impacts if that were to occur. Because the second you put up a fence and demarcate their boundary, and they have natural lands beyond that fence, it's a recipe for someone to be, you know, dumping their yard waste over there. And like you said, it's tough to monitor that. And so I could see that almost promoting the use of that side of the fence as more of a yard waste area.
Yeah, well, I think I always find that if there's a fence there and I can see that they dumped something over the fence, then they obviously are doing it in violation. So that's an easier one to fine and enforce. Whereas if it's wide open and I mean, having a bound at one end of each of these at the corners really doesn't do anything for us because there's already an iron rod at each corner. So I would want to see something all along so there's no impacts in that buffer zone, in that 25-foot no disturb zone.
How about something in between, maybe a couple of wetland signs along the boundary?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the signs too, Dan, just because I know, like, you know, we have properties along Bartlett Pond and other places where, you know, it's pretty much just open to the pond. But I think a couple signs there, more so like on the property line, just so that they kind of know, you know, where that is, and hopefully behind there, areas that aren't their property could kind of revegetate, reestablish, you know, behind those signs. But I know there's a lot of houses kind of along this side of the pond, and just have one that has a fence right there might be a little bit odd, you know, with the rest of them too.
Now, just to throw one more option here on the fence side, if you remember, Mark Arnold did this, I think, on West Street, Vinny, the house when we had the that large home on West Street.
Oh, Fisher
Street, yes. It was like a 2-foot high fence. It was like wasn't a full 4 foot. It was a short fence to delineate. I mean, that'd be an option too. A shorter fence.
Yeah, I think it's either of those options. Signs, I think, still help, but be aware that the plan is a 1 to 10 foot plan. So a sign at our typical spacing of 25 feet, which we used over at 75 Ridge. Those are big lots, 3-acre lots. So every 25 feet makes sense here. That's maybe 2 signs in that whole stretch. So just so you know the scale for what we're working with, because
I think a couple of signs would be more obstruction than a small short fence, personally.
But it also comes up pretty close to their proposed new deck as well. You've got that area where the proposed erosion control is, sediment control fence is. That's all within the 25-foot no disturb. But it's up to the commission, whatever you want, and we can put in the condition. I can put in the condition.
All right. So Dan wants a sign, Justin wants a sign, Todd wants nothing, and Diane hasn't said anything.
I was thinking 3 signs.
3 signs.
Yeah, one at the left side. I'm looking at it, and one at that corner down there where there's a metal pipe, I think, and one smack dab in the middle. That way, should keep people cognizant of what's there. And you could always encourage them to put plantings in there too. Put the signs and the plantings together.
All right. So sign seems to be the preferred option from the commission.
Could I, Greg, could I just put in one more comment?
You sure can.
Awesome. So I kind of am thinking about all the commission's ideas for the demarcation. So I think signs are totally fine for the 2 property corners. You know, that not only helps our property owner, but 2 other adjacent property owners know about the wetland resource areas. And then in the center of the backyard where, you know, we have 50-foot plus, maybe we do, instead of a sign that, you know, blocks their nice pond view, you know, we do one of those small survey iron pipes that's lower to the ground and just, you know, has a little placard on top. That way, you know, when they're mowing their lawn, they know that They just kind of have to connect the dots from that metal pipe in the ground with the demarcation on top to the two on the corner bounds, which maybe the two corner bounds can, be a little bit higher, but, maybe not too big to really, anger the two abutters too. Would that be okay with the commission?
Vinny was shaking his head no.
Well, that's not the commission. You guys say, whatever you say, I follow. So it'll be, that would be difficult to kind of follow. I mean, I'm just thinking if I bought the property.
Yep.
And I saw a little iron rod out there, I'd mow around it and not worry about anything else.
So over on Ridge Road, that disaster on that little peninsula where they're now putting in those out, did we require anything between, what did we require there?
Boulders the center line of the boulder is every 25 feet
So we did require something there.
at 26 feet off the property line. This one has less than 25 feet off, 26 feet. So I was proposing that we have a more dense separation or a more dense line, but sounds like the commission is going the other way.
Well, at least for me, I'm now with you that if we did something over there, we can do something here. What it is we're talking about, but
And we
I
just did it also over at 15 Prospect as well.
So
Like
what,
a few boulders in there would look
Yeah,
more.
I was just
more
gonna say,
natural.
yeah, why not throw boulders in this one too? It's low,
Sure.
doesn't ruin your view.
I
More
think
Look,
boulders
look a
work.
little more natural and really help to kind of prevent somebody from getting on property that's really not theirs, to do anything to it. So like a few boulders along there might do good, and then it still allows any critters or anything kind of back and forth
Yep.
to there. I feel like it's a little more natural looking than a sign there too.
What do you think about that, Mitch?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
So
So
Vinny, there's one more idea. Just came to me here. How about we take some tires, cut them in half, just make a little wall. Okay. No, not a good one. All right.
no, DEP will be after you for that, and they'll know who did it.
The boulder idea apparently is the good one. So
I'm okay with boulders. They would have to be on the lot, not on a butter's property. And how many are we looking at?
3 would be enough, really.
yeah, I mean, not
So 3, so split the difference. So 1, 2, 3 makes 4 spaces. So divide the frontage up by 4 and you put it at the points. Because a boulder at the corners doesn't make any sense,
No, it's kind of really along that
right?
area, a few boulders, 4 boulders in there, and
well, the
like
property
that.
also drops down when you move from left to right. When you get up there toward the end, there's a walkway that goes down with a little bit of a grate, a fence at the end. So that's
Right next to the tires.
yeah. So it's going to be hard to do anything there. So you're talking really from
Yeah,
that
it's
arm
kinda-
that comes out down to the P and proposed sediment barrier. Where that's your span right there.
Well, we also have the area to the left of the deck replacement. That's all within the 25-foot zone. So
Oh, right,
where he's
okay.
got the deck, that area there, maybe that's a sign because they're looking at a neighbor's yard that's, if I remember right, doesn't look very pretty. So
Right.
I'm fine with using both, but just need to know what the condition.
You're thinking a sign on the left and 3 boulders in the front?
That sounds good.
Seems reasonable.
That work?
Yeah. And maybe, this is just from experience working with you guys and from tons of other commissions, maybe you give the applicant some flexibility with like their demarcation strategies, whether maybe you guys say, put at least 1 sign and, 2 other things like 2 boulders or 2 granite bounds or whatever, just give some flexibility to whoever is going to buy this. Cause like you said, Greg, someone else is going to buy this. So, if they hate boulders but love granite bounds, maybe that's the thing to do. give them some options.
I don't know if the bounds quite gets us to where we want to be. I think it's more something that's a little more visible, Mitch. So I guess in my mind it would be, a few kind of sizable boulders in there, or maybe, split rail, type thing if the applicant or the next owner, wanted to do something different, it would kind of either be like a small, low little split rail fence or boulder, something that just, shows where that rear property line is, keeps people in their property.
I can
Yep.
word it to have any of the three. So that,
Yeah,
That seems reasonable, as long to give them some options and put it in the condition.
Yeah.
In the order. Let me see if we have any public comment. I don't see any hands up. Okay. Any more questions or comments from the commission?
Move to close the hearing?
Which seems good.
second.
Before we do that, Zoe and Mitch, are you all set with what's being asked here? What the order is going to look like?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Todd made a motion to close the hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
And by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
Yes,
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Now we need an order.
and we're gonna have our standard order with all
Standard
the
order.
standard special conditions plus the easement land, or not an easement,
Access.
an access permission. I've got it on videotape, so I'll take it from there. And then a limitation on at the property boundary with either signs, boulders, or fence, or a combination thereof.
Correct. We want to put a time limit on the decision on what to do for the fencing. Should there be a time limit prior to occupancy or prior to?
Well, for us to sign the COC, I think it would need to
Fair enough.
be on there.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think it would be for the certificate of occupancy, not a compliance, because we sometimes get the COC requests 18 years later,
Yeah,
which we're getting next month.
well, that'd be good then. Yeah, if we could tie it to occupancy, that's
Right.
better.
All right.
The CO, right? We could also do it before a building permit gets done. So sometimes and that's what we required for 75 Ridge, because we knew they were going to be bumping up close. So we had them do it and put the boulders in place before they could get their building permit. They got their foundation permits and did it, but that way we were sure to have it and that they weren't going to accidentally encroach into the no disturb. But I don't think we need it here because they're just replacing in kind.
So what are you talking, prior to occupancy, Vinny? Is that what we're looking at?
Right now, prior to occupancy, yep.
Okay. For 6 Hillside Road. Need a motion.
Moved issue order of conditions with the conditions we just went through extensively for 6 Hillside Road, DEP 2471244.
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Goldner,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right.
All right,
we
thank
bet
you very much,
I
Commissioner.
bet you guys you're glad to get rid of us on this one, I bet.
Okay,
No problem.
on that one, we were also going to be looking for the recorded 2-bedroom deed restriction. I was just looking at the notes, so
Yeah.
we'd want to copy the 2-bedroom deed restriction before you get your building permit. That's part of your septic design.
So they could never expand to 3 bedrooms or something?
That's how the septic design was approved to be only a 2-bedroom system. So we get the deed restriction there. If it turns out that they're going to expand the system, they'd have to come back to us anyway, and then they expand the system, and then they can take that off their deed.
Okay. I think that's fine, yeah.
Yeah. If you have questions, just give me a call. But that's already required according to the Board of Health approval.
Sounds good.
Great. Thanks, folks.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night. All right. 0 Hudson Street's being continued, Vinnie, correct?
They requested continuance, yes.
Okay. So we need a motion to continue 0 Hudson. The continuance, I believe, is due to a personal situation with the engineer.
Yep, with a wetland scientist. Yep.
Okay. Need a motion to continue 0 Hudson Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Justin. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes,
Scott Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. RDA for 0 Howard Street.
Yes, that would be Brian Belfer.
I am looking. I see Brian. Brian, I'm going to bring you in as a panelist.
Oh, I got to pull up the plan.
Hey, Brian.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. We had an informal last month, right? Informal discussion about it.
Indeed, yes.
So Todd was not here, but you probably have an idea what's going on, Todd. But let's. Vinny, do you want to kind of just set us up here? And
Yeah, if you want, I can drive. I'll take the screen share. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen.
yes.
The Bennett Trail. So this is Lyman Road in Berlin, Howard Street in Northborough, and the dark black line is the town line between Berlin and Northborough. Wetlands are located in this area here. They flow from the Mount Pisgah area, flow north and cross under Lyman just beyond the parking area for this existing trail, Bennett Trail. Bennett Trail currently goes down along the uplands, and then this is the wetlands. So then it crosses a stone wall and then is very wet. There's another stone wall along this property line. And there's a system of bridges and a pathway that traverses the wetland area and comes over to, or actually almost traverses the wetland area, ends about 30 feet or so short of the end of the wetland. So they're proposing this new 50-foot section of bridge to keep the travel, the pedestrians or whatever it is, out of the wetlands, and then continue on up to the upland portion of Bennett Trail. So they're proposing to rebuild the existing bridge structures and put in a new one at the end, and the rebuilding of the structures that are over the existing stream that runs through here. It's not a perennial stream, it's intermittent, and they are proposing to put it on helical piles and support it so that there's a span and that there's air below the actual bridge structures. In between the bridges, where there have been areas of, actually, do I have that? Of the path that have kind of washed out or actually been treaded down so that the roots are visible and evident. And during the wet periods, the area, the trail widens out to sometimes walking people. You can see the treads of people walking 10 feet wide. So what this was trying to do was narrow that big wide expansion and focus the people so that they know to walk on the on the area where it's been improved. I don't have that up, but that's basically the project proposal. If you want to add anything more, Brian?
Yeah, just for point of clarification. So the bulk of the existing bridges would be replaced with bridges that are basically wider and slightly higher up off the ground. But those initial bridges would just be on pressure treated lumber up on either side of the streams, if you will. And then the new 50-foot section that's straight through the flat mud would utilize the helical piles at that point.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I had a series of pictures, but and I mentioned at the last meeting, the existing trail is just super eroded. There's a lot of exposed roots. It kind of winds around a little bit, and the goal is to just level it out and make it a little more passable than it is now. This I mentioned once before that this is a super popular entrance into Pisgah, and it hasn't seen the same kind of love that Smith Road entrance or the Lyman or the Linden Street at the north has seen.
So I've got the pictures here. So this is the bigger crossing of the brook or the intermittent stream that's there. Stone walls on the left, all the wetlands across here. The parking area is behind us in this photo. Okay. And this is looking back from where I was. The parking area is up here, and the trail is proposed to be right along this area here. And then we fast forward along the trail, see how it's widened out. People are walking in this whole stretch of the wetlands, trying to limit that and reduce that so that they follow these bridge sections. They'll be improved, widened, raised up a little. This is again looking back. This is the area that doesn't have the bridge that people are just traipsing through, kind of created stone pathways, but this new bridge structure will be raised up and provide access to get over to the upland in this area. And I think that's...
Yeah, I think that, yeah, that pretty much covers what the goal is.
We'll open up to questions.
Vinny, one question here I had when we first heard about this, I think you expressed a concern about the use of a bluestone or crushed stone or some material.
Yeah, he called out bluestone for the sections between these bridge sections, and bluestone is just a more expensive version of crushed stone. We didn't want crushed stone spread out around this area, and so what Brian has clarified was that it's just going to be in areas where the roots, I think there's another better picture. And kind of in this area here between these bridges, there's a lot of roots that have been, the areas have been packed down. Here it is. Yeah. This area here, it's been packed down so that it's not as easily passable. So it's just going to be filling in areas that when this is really swampy and wet, the stones stay up and out of the water. Mm-hmm. And the people can walk on drier land. So there's really less impact to the wetlands, and the stones are clean. So any water just washes off there and goes in. So it's kind of a win for both sides, but it's a connecting path that goes all along through here.
Okay. Very good.
And you can correct me if I misspoke, Brian.
No, that's totally correct. We would just do we'd be creating the visual element of a trail for people to follow, and also just leveling out with either 3/4 crushed bluestone or some other 3/4 crushed stone. That's just, I called that one out because that's common and useful, and it kind of settles in quite nicely as far as for people, walking on it. Mm-hmm. Doesn't wash away. So,
well, the trail's in rough shape for sure. This is going to be a significant improvement. Questions, comments from the commission?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, and it's a mess, and we're not going to stop people from going through there, so it needs to be fixed.
I'm with Todd. I've been on that trail many times. It could use some improvement, so I think this sounds great.
And Brian, you've got the materials, you've got the resources lined up.
Yes, I have a full material list. I have resources lined up. I have budget all lined up to cover all of it. It's mostly just a matter of making sure that it gets approved, to make sure that it's all legitimate. A little bit of additional coordination with Berlin, because we'll be, presuming it moves forward, we'll be staging, we'll be using the parking area as our sort of workplace staging. But it's basically, it's not really much different than any of the Trails Committee's, average projects. It is just scaled up because it's just a lot more and a lot longer. And of course, there's a new section going over some wetlands.
Would you build the new sections in the parking lot and then truck them up, or would you do them on site?
This would be all built on site.
On site, okay.
Yep.
And just while I'm thinking of it, Brian, the fire department said they have a gator or a vehicle that could help haul stuff in if needed. Just contact them.
Perfect. That would be quite possibly fantastic to have.
All right, I think no more comments from the commission. I see if we have any public commentary. Don't see any hands up. And this is an RDA. So
Yes.
I'm thinking, Dave, that we would have a negative determination with any specific notes or questions here? Or comments?
We close the hearing and then we do a RDA, or a determination would be negative with, we don't really have a standard.
We don't really have any other.
Or standard conditions. I don't know. It's just, it would be notification before the work starts, so I'm going to know about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Won't be able to get out of it. So,
yeah.
But
all right.
That's.
Well, we need a motion to close the hearing.
So move.
Motion made by Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Todd, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Diane Goldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we now are going to have a motion to issue a negative determination with what kind of commentary do we need, if any?
Just notification 48
That's it?
hours in advance so that I know that it's starting.
Yeah, because there's no devices being installed. There's nothing going on. So
No, they really can't do erosion or sediment controls on it. They're just going out there, not during the wet season or the
what's your
wettest
timetable,
season.
Brian? When do you want to do this?
I'm actually looking to do this pretty much as soon as I can fit into the calendar, preferably April into May, so that I actually do want to work while it's kind of wet so we can see it at its worst. If that doesn't work out, it'll just push out a little longer, basically depending on manpower availability. But there's no real disadvantage to doing it while it's sopping wet, since it's
That's true.
constantly sopping wet out there.
Okay, good.
I don't have an exact schedule because I have to get it all arranged, but
Right.
I would target end of April.
Okay, to be done by May 1 or something, or
Ambitiously, sure. It's probably 2 complete weekends. In sort of the larger calendar, it's the Trails Committee's first spring project for the season. So the goal is to get this one done. Then we'll be doing a summer project, then a fall project.
good deal.
Right.
Okay.
And we need to get approval from the Berlin Conservation Commission because there's going to be staging and activity within 100 feet of the Berlin wetlands. They've been notified and they're on board. So once I have this done, I'm going to contact their conservation agent and find out what she would like the Trails Committee to be doing. We may need to do an RDA there, but they may see this and be able to say they see and know enough and they're okay with it.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion for a negative determination for 0 Howard Street trail work.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second? Seconded by Diane. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Diane Goldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Good stuff, Brian.
All right. And I just want to say thank you very much to Vinny for helping me with the process on this and the paperwork and stuff. It's
Yeah,
been
he should be your best friend in this thing. So yes, yes.
it's a great learning experience for me too to get it all done. So
Super duper. Good.
I appreciate the commission's time.
Great. Good luck. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Brian.
Okay. Moving along here. Requested for an amended order of conditions for 5 Barefoot Road. I know we've got some people in the audience. I got James Benincasa coming in. James, I'm going to promote you a panelist.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay,
can.
good. So as the agenda says, this is a request to amend previous order of conditions at 5 Barefoot Road, file number 247-1161. And that was a proposed, that order of conditions covered a proposed daycare, which was to have work right off the then permitted no disturb zone. We're now proposing to be much further away, 73 feet at the nearest point from the wetlands, as opposed to probably 15 or 16 feet as was previously proposed under that order. Yep, Vin's got the plan going there.
Good.
So we have only a slight intrusion into the buffer zone for some in-ground infiltration. Again, nearest point 73 feet away. Everything else is further away. The dashed blue line that you see there was the limit of work under the previous proposal for which an order was granted.
Right.
It's this, what we're proposing, except for a little bit of work way west of the wetlands, is really just a subset of what was proposed before. You can see the blue line going through the center of the now proposed house. That was where the limit of work ended before. So we're going a little west of that. And again, but not starting anywhere near the wetlands compared to what was before. We had a couple of iterations of revisions to the plan, refining the drainage and parking and things per your agent, per Mr. Vignali. I think we've got a good design for this now. We did an additional deep hole in that hatched area that you see west of the building to account for the soils there. We thought we'd have some great stuff. Actually ended up with only it so-so, but the design is based on it being what it is, sort of so-so, sandy loam. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. We think it's a something that the commission will hopefully embrace, because we're working much farther from the wetland. We're altering less land, about 20,000 square feet versus 28,000 before. We'll have sediment control barriers at the limit of work. We will have, of course, a site, Vin, listen closely, exit map. And we will have infiltration to at 3 different points. The main one where the cursor is at the limit of work on the east, a area receiving runoff from the house at the far west, and also sort of a pocket off the, I guess I'll say, the northeast corner of the house to address what would otherwise be a kind of a little bit of a pocket created by the drainage and then the grading, excuse me. So I'll try and answer any questions if there are any, but we think we've got a much better proposal here for the commission than was previously permitted.
So the only reason it's jurisdictional at all is because of that small inclusion up top there, the infiltration.
Yeah, and one of the iterations before this, I actually had that area somewhere else. I was mistaking a number 1 for a 4. And I was thinking, yep, where he's got the cursor. I thought we had one of the areas of really good soil that had been found by previous deep holes, only that actually was one of the spots of kind of mediocre sandy loam soil. So
Okay.
we thought we were all the way out, but we ended up being a little bit in here as shown on the plan.
Vinny, we talked a bit about a CR here.
Yes, we did. We talked about, or they actually talked about it when they were in with the notice of insignificant project change a year or two ago for this property that's mostly all wetland that extends over to Solomon Pond Road, I think it is. And so they said they were willing to put a CR, a conservation restriction on this area here. And I think I've talked with them and they said they were still willing to do that. And we could have that done before they get our certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
We'd want that in place.
The only thing I just want to make sure, just make clear that with the CR, we did send, Vinny, did you get the one that we used for another town? I sent it over to you in Word.
I got it. I did not read through it though.
All right, no problem. It's in Word, so you can obviously have any editing or whatnot, but that's what I think that we use that in Grafton. I just want to make sure that, you know, that we can get all of our permits and everything on this area before I would put that restriction on it as well, because I don't want to all of a sudden get locked out for some odd reason. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to get our permit on this one, and then all of a sudden I lost that area that was previously permitted to build on. We have no problem going to this spot, but I just don't want to.
We're basically amenable to the timing that your agent suggests of having it tied to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, that would allow you to get all your permits you need to get moving in this one. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yeah. Yep. And I just wanted to compliment Vin Vigdali on the way you were moving the cursor around when James was saying it was spot on. I thought he was doing it. Honestly, I was like, that was perfect. So
Yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to compliment you on that before I forgot.
I've heard James show before, so.
Yes. All right. Good.
Another question we had here, Vinny and I were talking, when we were out there the other day, there's a pathway that exists from I guess Pondview Way, is it? Across onto Barefoot.
Yes.
So the only thing with that is obviously for liability reasons. It would be, I really can't continue that. If there's something, I'm open to ideas. If the, association wants to do something, but I for liability reasons, I don't want to commit to the board that I can do that until we make sure that we're covered as far as that goes. I don't want to commit to that to you guys unless I know that, we're covered in another way, liability. I just don't want to open myself up to that.
Is that where it was, Vinny? I thought it was further back, no?
Yeah, no, it was when we were standing right out here, we could see that stake for the corner there.
Oh yeah.
And
Right.
it looked like it was going right out through here. So
Yep.
it's really not, I think this is probably one of Todd's specials where we don't ask, don't tell. Just they leave it as it is because there's going to be pavement right here. I can zoom in a little to see it better.
We can't officially encourage it, but there won't be a guard.
Right. So they're filling this area for an underground system.
Yep.
And there's only going to be paving on this corner. So the
And
idea
that's a
that
3-to-1 grade there
it's
and around that infiltration.
right. And 3-to-1, there's no fence proposed here. There's a wall here and a fence there because of the slope in the top of the wall, but here it's open. So worst case is the trail would end up being worn in over here if it exists. So I don't think the town needs any easement or official approval for it. So as long as they don't propose to put a fence across, I think the people in the neighborhood that use that will be appreciative of that.
Vinny, did we have any signage in the initial order?
I don't think you had signs back when this was originally ordered, but I think one of our standard conditions is to have a sign on this because there are fences here. We could have them put a sign every 25 foot is the standard wording in the standard condition. So every 25 foot, a sign or a boulder or a fence, and they're already going to have the fence there. So all they have to do is mount a sign onto the fence.
Okay,
I don't think we had signs. I missed that one.
I'm not sure we need that every 25 feet. That seems a lot of signs, but.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
commissioners,
where would it be, Greg? It would really just be kind of near that infiltration basin, right? Is that the only buffer zone we have there? Is in the
really
Oh,
down
I'm
there.
sorry. That's right. Because the
Oh,
wetlands
yeah,
are over here.
right.
They're not over there. So
Right.
this is the area. So we are actually, we aren't even within the 25. So I don't know that we need signs at all. You're
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you, Justin. That's
Oh,
right.
Right.
I-
So you're still working right up to the well.
any questions, comments from the commission?
I have a question about parking and I guess people would just be driven in. Are they bussed in or brought in by private car, and then there's only parking for what, six automobiles, I guess.
There's a few more to the west, Diane.
Okay, oh, okay.
There's one van that stays there, which is the handicap spot. There's, there's 2 staff, so we like to have, the ideal situation is at the minimum of 6. We like to have 1 for our vans, 2, there's 2 staff members, so shift change, I need 4. And then, if there's, maybe a guest or somebody there, then that really gives us the 6. It's nice to have more if, there's more guests, but we just have to, we really try to maintain it at least 6.
And they have 9 proposed.
Yeah.
Any more questions? You all set, Diane?
Are the people being bussed in, were brought in by private car, and there's just a flow of traffic at certain times?
So they live in the home. So there's five occupants in the home. There's 2 staff members. This is for people with traumatic brain injury. So it's stroke victim strokes, or multiple things. My brother's cerebral palsy, and he's in a home. A friend that got hit by a bus, he's in a home. Or a lot of, I think, but 60% are stroke victims. They live in the home full time. Like I said, there's 2 staff members there to help them, and then they have their van, the van that they use to go out back and forth. A lot of them will be in wheelchairs and whatnot. And then, but yes, I'm sorry. The question was, they do live in the home.
Okay.
Hold on.
And the way that the driveway is set up with the crescent is quite by intention, because some of the few complaints you have about a facility like this is if a van comes at 10 p.m. and the van is backing up and you hear the beeping or whatever, and people get annoyed by that. This way, the van essentially never has to back up when dropping somebody off, and can be quieter for anybody in the area.
That's pretty much our number one only really complaint, is the backup alarms on the vans. So the horseshoe is to try and eliminate that as much as possible.
That's a good idea.
You all set, Diane?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Again, this is an amended order. Let me see if we have any public comment here. I see a hand up. Carrie Weber. Carrie, go ahead and talk. You should be unmuted. There you go.
Okay, I have to hold the space bar down.
It's okay.
Okay. Yeah, just a comment here. So yeah, my name is Carrie Weber. I'm an abutter. I live at 7D Pondview Way. And we've been around and around with proposals on this parcel of land here. And it is not a large parcel. The current proposal here is certainly a worthwhile proposal, and it's smaller than the previous footprint that was proposed. But again, this is not a large area, and I'm wondering if it wouldn't still be better to put a facility like this somewhere where there was a little bit more room. For the abutters here on Pondview Way, this is really the only buffer zone we have between residential and industrial. And yes, we've been using that walkway. I feel it is going to impact our property values to have any kind of construction in there, even a worthwhile one. So I'm just lodging an objection and a thought that maybe this would be better located elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, do you want to respond to that or?
As far as this proposal versus the previous one, I would simply say that because the area altered is really just a subset of what's proposed before, I think this is actually going to be much better for maintaining sound buffer from the intersection of Solomon Pond Road and Barefoot than the previous proposal. The trees removed here are really in the way of sound coming from the perhaps from the facility across the street, which if the couple times I've been there are anything to judge by, makes very little sound, certainly compared to the intersection noise.
Right, it's not really the sound, it's the it's a privacy buffer against the industrial Barefoot Road area. This would really take a big chunk of that away, which I believe is going to affect our property values.
Yeah, just like I've been trying to juggle this image, but their proposal is here. To get to where the condos are, you have to go across this section of wooded area that's here. And this is the driveway, and your units are on the opposite side of the driveway. So it's even farther away than what they were proposing here.
It's not that far away. I don't know if you've been to that area and actually looked at it.
I have. It's not far away, but it's farther away than what they were proposing.
Granted.
And had a permit, they had an approval for that.
I don't think either proposal was really highest and best use for this area at all.
But in either event, they're not related to things we have jurisdiction over.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie.
All right. Thank you for letting me at least
Of course.
Weigh in.
Of course. Okay, I thought I saw another hand up here. Let me see, I've got Janet. Janet, I'm going to bring you, you can talk here. I'm asking you to unmute.
How's that?
It's good, we can hear you.
Okay. My concern is what type of
one second, Janet, could you please identify yourself and your location?
My name is Janet Sandstrom. I live at 1B Pondview Way.
Thank you.
My concern is what type of a fence are we going to have there? And it looks like it's going to be open in areas, or is it going to be a full fence that goes to the wetland?
Mr. Chairman, I'd say maybe there's a misconception about just how much fence there is. The dashed line with the orange sort of highlighting of it at the limit of work is the sediment control barrier.
Oh, okay.
It's not a permanent fence.
I see. So is there a possibility that we can get some kind of a barrier there with a fence?
Fencing is proposed in 2 locations now where I always want to say cursor, but it's funny calling a hand a cursor. where the hand is going there off of the parking, and a little further on where it would be separating the house from development further to the southeast.
That's going to be a fence?
Correct. There'll be a fence atop a low retaining wall in both of those locations.
What kind of a fence is it going to be?
A split rail fence. It's really just for safety and for somebody not falling over, just so somebody can stand there and look off into the woods. Has gaze as they may wish.
Is there any way we could put up some kind of a privacy fence?
At this time, there's no plan for a privacy fence.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
At this time, no, we're not proposing a privacy fence at this point.
Well, I think the residents deserve to get a fence of some kind, privacy fence, because it is, even though it's wooded, noise travels, and that is a bit. We hear the road noise from Barefoot Road. I'm sure we're going to hear vans backing up and cars in and out. I feel as though that a privacy fence should be constructed by the people who are building the building.
Well, I think I would just note that this is not really a Conservation Commission issue. But
we can bring it up to
contact us.
Yeah, I mean, we can bring it up to the agency that's going to be running this and ask them how they feel about it.
Okay, as long as you're thinking about it, because that is a very strong point here, to have a fence.
Yeah, it's a good idea, James, to bring that up to the agency. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you.
There, thank you, Janet. Okay, let's see. We've got I've got Ellen Farr with her hand up. Let's see what's here.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm Ellen Farrar. I'm at 1A Pondview Way. And it's maybe it's an add-on to Janet's question, but it's just not clear from this picture. I apologize, and I've been following along here, but along the dotted perimeter, can you explain how much footage there is of trees? So that white area you're saying is all trees, and does it run the full length of that dotted perimeter, and for how many feet? Towards Pondview Way.
Sure. The area that's not colored is area that's to be left alone. And if you look on the view we have there now, they sort of a triangular bottom to the property lines. There's an area there where the sediment control barrier will be off of the property line by several feet, but then on each sort of side of the triangle, if you will, both rising left and right, the sediment control barrier is going to be close to the property line limit. Obviously, we're not going over onto anyone else's property. Those trees on adjacent properties are going to be left alone. There are treed areas to the far west of the proposed house that are going to be left alone. And there's obviously, one of the focuses here was that a large area closer to the wetlands to the east of the proposed development is to be entirely left alone.
So along that full dotted perimeter or the blue property line, there is going to be trees for some number of feet towards Pondview Way?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me what you're asking me, because as I said, if you're looking on that property line that you see there, the designation saying residence C, and a little further on, it says 198.37 feet. For much of that property line, the limit of work and the sediment control barrier is going to be just off the property line. But obviously beyond that blue line is another property. We're not obviously touching and a butter's land, and that's going to be left alone. And as I think Vin McNally was saying, there's varying 100 feet or more in certain areas of woods that's going to remain untouched.
Yeah, that's great. So there's 100 feet or more along that blue perimeter untouched.
Not along the blue perimeter, beyond the blue perimeter.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No.
That's helpful.
It's a little confusing because the dashed blue line there is the old limit of work under the daycare, I believe, that was previously approved and given an order of conditions. That was just to show where they were proposing to end work. And all that white area that you see there, for instance, the note saying infiltration system east of house C sheet 2 of 2, that area is all to be left alone.
Yep.
All set, Ellen?
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I think we're good. I think we're good here. All right, do a cleanup. I don't see anybody. No other hands up. All right. Well, if there's no, this is a request to amend the order of conditions. Vinny, we're going to close the hearing and then take a vote. Would we want any? We want to capture the CR requirements and timing somewhere, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Would that be in the amendment of the order?
Yeah, when I draft the amended order conditions, I'll add that as one more condition. And I reviewed the order. I can remove the ones that are not applicable any longer. And I think there was one about signs that I don't think we need again.
Yep.
But I can delete the ones that are not associated with this development.
Good.
Or this this proposal.
Okay. Then we need a motion to close the hearing on 5 Barefoot
moved.
Road.
I just made that motion.
Okay. is there
Second.
Seconded by Diane.
Mhm.
Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Diane Gouldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Hearing is closed. Now we're going to issue an amended order of conditions with, we need a motion to issue an amended order of conditions with notes around the CR, Vinny, is that it?
With the condition for the CR to be in place before a certificate of occupancy is issued.
Right.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I think that was to Justin?
Yeah.
Very good. Roll call. Dan.
Yes.
Justin Dufresne.
Yes.
Diane Gouldner.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All set, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Much better from our standpoint than Plan A. So we're happy.
Yeah.
Oh, one last question before you go. Timeline.
We're looking to,
ASAP.
yeah, we're looking to start immediately.
Okay, so you'll get to Vinny, you'll keep Vinny in the loop and all that and have him check the ERCCBs and all that, right?
So I was gonna ask outside, so with this, we're filing, I think we might have had the building permit in. I think we're looking for a sign off. No tech, is there a, as far as signing off for the building permit? I mean, technically there is an order of conditions on this that covers it with the amendment. Will Vin be able to sign off on this now after the meeting? Allow it?
Yes, what I will do is I will sign off. I'll contact or talk to the building department, let them know that I'm issuing an amended order of conditions, and
all right,
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we're looking to start as soon as possible.
Super. All right.
All right, thank you so much.
All right. Good luck. Thanks.
Thanks. All right.
Okay. All right. That ends the that ends the official public hearing portion. Let's see if we can get through the stuff really quickly. Violation, Vinny, 128 Davis Street.
Oh. Yes, we had a property, actually it was found to have, actually they were in the midst of removing some trees, some big 24-inch oaks
Yep.
mostly. They took out about 6 of them, and the guy doing the work, the logging work, cut the trees down a few months ago, I guess, and then just pushed everything off out of the yard. Turns out that that was not on the property owner's property, and it was within, well, it was within the 100-foot buffer zone up to about 30 feet off the wetlands. So the chair was out checking the town and found the site with alterations occurring, and so he called me out, and we talked with the second harvester that was out there, and he was just out there to clean things up. And it turns out that he wasn't sure of what the property lines were. The owners were not sure of the property lines, so he pulled out, stopped the work, and we resolved where the property lines were. Actually, let me pull up a plan. Sorry about this.
To explain where this parcel is, it's on Davis Street Extension. So if you're coming down Route 20 and you hit the Davis Street lights, you take a right, head like you're heading towards Yamazakura. And it's the second house on your left. You'll see it, the clearing. You can see some signs and ruts and so forth there, but that's the location.
Right. So what I've got is a screen sharing. It's a sketch. Sorry about this. So this is the 128 Davis Street tree debris. So the property is in the blue. They weren't sure of their property line. This line looks like it's a little off because the fence of the neighbors is there. So I think this whole thing shifts over a little. But generally they push brush and debris over all the way out into this red area. This area here is an existing field. So this property owner had some trees cut back here, and over in this area here, these are all gone. And the remainders, or the stumps and all the brush, was pushed back along this area here. The wetlands are not really shown here, but they're generally located around like this. And this is the flood area off of Route 20, Hop Brook, I think it is. And so this is the area where there was impact. And so he stopped doing the work. We figured out where things were, and then he went back in. He contracted with that same harvester that came out the second time, and they cleared the area out of what was altered. Let me try to go to the photos that I had. So this is looking from the back, the southern corner of the property. The property is actually over to the right. This is all the abutting property there. They did, I asked them to put the sediment control fence out there. The wetlands are probably about down in this area here, it's about 15 feet away, or actually 18 feet away. And up here, it's probably 30 feet away. But this kept any sediment from going beyond the work area. And they went out and cleaned it. This was piled high. Actually, maybe I should have done the other picture first. This was the before picture. The other picture was taken from this area here, looking back. So all this kind of brush, branches, trunks were sitting in the area within the 100-foot buffer zone. And this is the open yard area that was on the abutting property. So that's what it looked like looking in one direction with the wetland in the back. And this is looking from this way back to the photo was taken from like right about here, looking this way. So it's looking back after they cleaned the area up. So it was an impact in the buffer zone. They didn't get into the wetlands. They were very close with this, but he's removed all the debris and cleaned it up. So I think it's kind of been addressed, but just wanted to kind of bring the commission up to date on it.
Okay. Any questions on that, anybody? Informal discussions, Vinny, we got 4 of them here. Harrington Lane, project status before street acceptance.
Yes, there's a question. They submitted last week or the week before a request for a CO certificate of compliance. And when I went out there, there's still work that needs to be done. But they hadn't submitted it in time to get everything done on the agenda for a COC. But after looking at it, it didn't look like the COC was complete. I also talked with the town engineer, who said they still have to do some work out in the areas of the stormwater basin that's in place and the shoulders. They were in the process of doing some work on the bounds. They had to replace or install some bounds along the property where the roadway was going to be for the street acceptance. And I think I talked to Fred, and there were 20 or so items on his list of things that still need to be done. There's a swale that needs to be cleaned out and regraded. So that's right next to the wetland. It's got a buffer, a little bit of a buffer, about a 10-foot buffer, I think. But I think it's still within the jurisdiction of that order of conditions. So that's why I didn't want to say that, or I didn't want to really move forward on the certificate of compliance until we get all the work done out there.
But they can still get street acceptance without the COC, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're not going to hold up the street acceptance, but it's one of those things that it's not ready for a COC as far as I believe. But I think Zoe is here to provide more information on that.
Zoe's got her hand up. Hold on a second here, Zoe. Let me do this.
I'm in.
Oh, you're in.
Okay,
I've been bouncing you out and sending you back saying, what's she still here for? So
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I got kicked out a few times, but this is why. It made me back as a panelist each time, but I wasn't trying to come back as a panelist. But okay, yes, I'm here just to for any questions regarding Harrington Lane. Yeah, I think Mark Arnold, so he submitted the request for COC, but wanted to take it as a discussion item tonight to see where things stand. And I don't know if you guys want me to go over the conditions out there and what was proposed and what the as-built, but what was submitted was that so for the COC, the wetland replication area, the monitoring has been done for it. The proposed area was 600, the as-built was 660. There was 5 linear feet of less of bank impacts. The as-built was 20 square feet and the proposed was 25. And then there was minor shifting of the stormwater head walls and a few other small things. But we're under the impression, as far as the wetland resource areas go, that the area looks good and isn't within compliance. So I might have missed the beginning of what was missing in the COC request.
Well, Vinny, we wanted 2 growing seasons, right? We've got 1.
So we submitted 2 growing seasons for the wetland replication area.
Yeah, we can do it. I mean, I think there's justification to a partial COC for the wetlands replication, but the bigger issue is I'm trying to pull up some photos again, just don't want to take too long, but come on. Just to show, when I went out there, I went out with, on my own, and then I went with Greg. I think we went there, right?
Yep, we did.
Okay, and so this is the status of the basin. Wetlands are on this end. So this just got regraded, just got restabilized. There's been a bunch of work inside the basin itself. I don't know, hard to tell what's growing there. But this is not the wetland restoration work. This is just the stormwater basin, but I'm not really sure that it's perfectly stable. This is looking back the other way.
So what do we do?
They asked to be considered for a COC. I said they weren't ready, and they're asking for you guys to reconsider it, I think.
Is that right? Because it doesn't sound like that's promising.
Well, my view says that if Vinny says it's not ready, it's not ready.
Doesn't look ready to me.
So it's,
And it isn't gonna hold up the street acceptance, so.
nope. It's not. So Vinny, could you maybe, since it's 8:45, could you maybe send Zoe a note with what's
Yep.
why it's not ready from your perspective?
Yep, absolutely.
And then we can go from there, Zoe.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so looking for more stabilization around the stormwater basin.
Yeah, he'll send you a note.
I'll
what
send you a
what he's
list.
looking for.
Yep. Yeah, it'll
Okay.
probably be Thursday or so.
All right, thank you.
It will not hold up the street acceptance, so that can go to town meeting. This will be, hopefully we can get this cleared up by next month, hopefully one way or the other, so.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Zoe. I'm gonna eliminate you now. So.
I'll take it. Thanks.
Okay.
I won't come back, I promise.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, forest stewardship update,
No change.
no change.
I can go
We've
into it
made some
more.
progress on the contract though with the town manager, right?
Yes, town managers made some advances. I'm still trying to get a draft version or a signed version from the Wigmore Forestry Resources.
Okay. Bartlett Pond invasive plant management contract.
That contract has been approved by the town and approved by Solitude, the consultant, and they said that they're finishing up and signing the originals and sending them over to me. So I should have that in the next day or two, I hope. And then they're going to probably be coming in because they need a notice of intent to do the work.
Yep.
And they have until the 22nd, I think it is, of this month to submit to get the notice of intent on the agenda for our next meeting, which I expect will happen.
Good, good, because they want to do something this summer, right?
They're going to be doing it in May. Yes.
Good. Okay. MAC annual meeting attendance update. I know Dan went, right? You went to I think you were there all day, Dan, weren't you?
Yeah, it's good. I haven't been in several years, so.
How was the crowd?
Well
How was the crowd?
attended. Oh,
Was
yeah.
the crowd was good?
Well, yeah, a lot of people there, sure.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Diane, you did virtual, right?
I did. I did the, can't remember now what it was. The, what's the paper one?
What? Oh, grant writing?
Grant writing, yes, thank you.
Okay.
That was very involved. She took more than a whole hour to explain what she did and how she did it and how many people were involved, so that it doesn't make it look very easy at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I did riverfront regulations and invasive species management. So I did virtual. So they were interesting. I get some information from you, Vinny, for the invasive species side from the group that made the pitch. So
good.
Okay, good. Anything else the commission has? Any questions or comments or updates? Concerns? Everybody good for April 8th at this point in time?
Yep.
It will depend on whether or not I can climb stairs by then.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, that's right. Diane's having some a new hip.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say the Boston Marathon is the next week.
And that's done again. And that's
Don't
done, we
think
send
so.
her to the top of Pisgah. That's right.
So good.
Is that next week, Diane?
Yes, a week from, is today Monday? Yes, a week from today.
All right. All right. We got any questions? Give me a call.
Okay, thank you.
What else? Anything we know of coming in front of the commission next month, maybe ahead of time?
Nope. You've heard the ones that are coming back, so that's all.
0 Hudson, 311 Crawford. We know we'll see again.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Harrington, that sounds like.
Hopefully Harrington, yeah, we can, hopefully, yes, yes. Okay, then if no one has anything else, we need a motion to close.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Diane. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Justin Dufresne,
Yes.
Diane Gouldner,
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
I vote yes. Very good. Thanks, folks.
All right, thank you all.
Night,
Enjoy the
everyone.
weather.
Bye,
Justin,
everyone.
good luck with your bridge.